Hello everybody, welcome. I know I haven't been streaming a lot lately, but I've been ill, so here I am. Today I want to show you the speed build. So I made another no CC house in The Sims. For those of you who wonder if I'm going to make another Hogwarts Legacy video, yes I will, don't worry. We'll continue that story, but today it's just a Sims video. This is not a base game house I made. I know mostly I make base game builds, and my last one was also a base game build. This one, it doesn't have all the new packs, because I don't have all the new packs. So chances are big that you will be able to download it, but yes, if you don't, you can still watch the video for inspiration. It's a modern house, as you can see by the name, but I think it's very modern. I don't know what your idea of modern is, but I think it looks very modern. And you might have seen by the picture, and it's no CC, so there are no packs used. It's only in Sims game things I used. As you can see, I first made a driveway and then I started building. I don't know where I got the idea. I just randomly had this vision of a modern building in my head. That's what happens most of the time. So yeah, that was just my inspiration. And the colors I used, you'll see, are black and light brown, which I think was a really good combination. And I used the Solani pack windows. They're not really windows. I know they're supposed to be like open, that you can look through them, but I still call them windows. So this is a build you can put in a world or space you think is like a very hot place to live, like very warm, sunny, because it also has palm trees, but you can also put it just anywhere, right? I put it in Newcrest, so Newcrest is quite a normal world, but it still kind of fits. Like in real life, you also have people that have houses with palm trees and fancy stuff, like celebrity houses that aren't even that close to the beach or whatever. So as you can see here, I used floors as roofs. This will be like a little terrace place, somewhere they can eat outside. And I left some open space to put plants. I also think that I used a lot of plants which came out really... I think it looked more original than I thought it would be. I thought it would be a bit boring, but when I started focusing on all those plants, then it became better. So as you can see, the driveway has two colors, and I also used those in the back. And there'll also be a pool in the back, so those tiles match with the pool, because a pool mostly has tiles next to it. You're not going to exit a pool and then walk in the grass. I mean, you can, but when your feet are wet, it's more logical to be like on stone floor. Yeah, I kept the wall lengths the same for downstairs and upstairs, and then I had to search for a door and windows, but since the walls downstairs and upstairs are the same length, you could use the same windows. If I had wanted to add a door upstairs, then I could have done so too. Yeah, this is the part where I just decide which windows I wanted. I wanted something with those stripes because that looks modern, but when I saw this I was like, no, I want Solani ones, more something modern looking. So I used Solani in black, and then later you'll see how I switch it up and make them half black, half brown, light brown. Yeah, I first tested this door because it had the same stripes, but it seemed a little too busy and chaotic, so I used this one instead. And then I had to decide which color to use as a wall color. And I chose this one. This is the this is the high school pack, I think. I like these walls because they look kind of modern if you use them in black. But the other colors aren't that handy, I think, because they're really bright colors. So as you can see, I realized, oh, this fits with the front door, so I'll just do this. I don't know why I crossed them. I could have done... I mean, crossing them is the best option because that spices it up a little, but it still looks okay. And then I had to decide whether the walls would be darker brown or light brown on top, and I eventually chose light brown because it fitted more with the windows. And the roofing is dark, but I also decided to put real roofs on there, and the dark coloring will only be seen at the sides. Then I placed the same kind of edges and another roof to cover the protruding ends. Yeah, for this one I first wanted to place a roof, but then I realized this was like my terrace idea, so I just removed it and also made it the dark roofing. And here I tested whether I should use another roof, but then I decided not to because, I don't know, it seemed kind of off. It made it look too crooked, the building looked too crooked. Okay, so then I placed these things, I don't know what they're called, and I made sure they were everywhere around the house, so there wasn't any dark space left. Upstairs it was pretty difficult because you had to use the edges of the roof combined with yeah, those things, I don't know what they're called. With the wall edges. Here I tested if the roof should have another trim, but it looked quite alright the way I did it, so I just kept it that way. Then I had to decide whether to use different colors on the wall or just one color, because for most of my builds I think I've used different colors to spice it up a little, but for this one color really seemed enough, because that also made it look more modern. And then I had to put the other windows, but I didn't want everything to be the Solani windows, because that would be quite chaotic because of all the lines they have. So then I used this one in the color of the front door, and here I used just the same as in the front. I copied it, and I copied the door as well. I do that a lot. Just the front door is the same as the back door. It's quite alright for me, I think. Then I put the windows next to the terrace. I also made the roofing there, like the floor used as a roof, I made it darker so it looked better. And as you can see, the stone floor takes up quite a lot of space in the garden, but that's okay because that's for the pool that's still coming. By the way, I always start with the floor and the walls, and then I add some color and windows, and then next I add the plants and all the garden stuff surrounding the house. I used to do it differently, but now I do it this way, and then I kind of decorate later, or I don't decorate at all, because this one is an empty house, so you can decorate it yourself the way you want to, but I might decorate it myself as well, and then you'll just see in the gallery you'll have an option empty house and an option decorated house, so you can choose whether you want to decorate it yourself or not. And the good thing about that is, I think an empty house, when I make that, chances of it being less packs and content you have to buy are bigger, because when you start to decorate a house, you start to use all these kinds of furniture and little stuff because you want to fill up the whole house, and you end up using all the packs you have, and like chances are low that somebody has the exact same packs, especially if you use very small packs. So if you have bought a very small pack once that like nobody wanted but you wanted, then it's very difficult to use that pack in a house that you want to upload in the gallery, because then chances are lower of people downloading it. But of course you can still download a house with a pack that you don't have, because if it's a small pack, then chances are big that it's just some little clutter standing somewhere, and then it'll just disappear when you download it, and that's fine, because then you can fill that space up yourself or just leave it as it is. I mean, depends on what is used. And so I think I gave floors another look and I gave the walls another look, but it's still an empty house when it's done, so you can decorate it how you like. It's not super big. It's quite big, you have a lot of space, but it's not super big, so it's not that difficult to decorate yourself. But I'll probably make my own decorated version of this, because I might start a gameplay stream, and then I might use this house as the house my family lives in, but I'm not sure about that. Yes, now I'll start removing floors, because that's the part where all the plants will come. I filled everything up with these little bushes. And I also used this green floor to make it look as if there's grass underneath the plants. Don't ask me how this would work in real life. I've seen roofing with grass on them, so, or maybe it's like fake grass, doesn't matter. Okay, so now you have the base plants everywhere, and then afterwards we'll fill it up with more plants, because otherwise you can't see it from the front view. And now I just made sure the inside of the house made sense, because you have a lot of little walls in between when you make a house with parts that are protruding. You also have to make sure always that your stairs will fit in somewhere, but it's only in the end that I divide up the house in rooms. Then you just have to think where you want to put everything and make sure stairs fit in. Of course, it's better now, you can change the stairs, but I think it used to be just one straight space for stairs, and now it's cool that you can make them turn, but I don't know, it takes up a lot of space. I think you always have to make sure that your stairs fit in everywhere. Yeah, here I tested if I should change the roofing, but I'm really glad I didn't. I think this fits. Also, it's like a bit more light gray, bluish, but that's better because otherwise there wouldn't be enough variation. I think if the roofing was really dark, that would be weird. Yeah, here I was testing something out because I wanted to use the yeah, what are they called? The wooden stickies. Let's just call them the wooden stickies. But then I put the wooden stickies yeah, this would have been bad, but I put the wooden stickies on a wall in the back, like this. And then I'll do that in the back too. So I took a look, where did I put it, and then I just copied it. I don't know, I think it gave it some more variation. I even forgot I put it there, but I think when you see the building, it makes a bit of a difference, because otherwise it could turn out to be a bit boring. By the way, as you can see, above the front door and the door in the back, you have nothing now, but I'll put something else there in the end, you'll see. Yeah, here I had this cactus idea, a bit of Oasis Springs like, but then in the end I decided not to do that, because I don't know, cactuses and palm trees are something, they're not the same vibe, and I wanted to go for a more palm tree like vibe. I also didn't use the biggest palm trees, because then you just see the tree trunk and you don't have anything to look at then. And also the smaller palm trees fit together according to color, so that was quite nice. Now it's as if there's really nothing there, but when I start adding all the details and the fences, it's way better. Yeah, this is the moment when I just thought I won't do cactuses at all, because that's another vibe. And then I needed to make fences. These are the city living fences. But there are a lot of different fences you could actually use that kind of look the same, although I don't know if this blue glass thing is unique to the city living fences, so you might have a problem with that. Here I made the pool. I made it, it's quite long, but I tried to make it big enough, because otherwise it's a bit of a boring pool. And as you can see, it also fits with the fence. It's also blue and black. And as you'll see later, in the back I focused a lot on blue actually, which surprised me. I thought it would all be black and stuff, but then when I started using blue, for example for chairs, it turned out to look quite good. Okay, now the whole plants part starts, and after that it's actually almost finished. Here I had to make sure that my bushes weren't too big, so I used Alt and then the button next to 0. Yes, I like the white in these flowers, and then I realized, oh, Solani also has option for white for their flower grass, whatever they call it. Those things are handy, like a big grass piece with all these flowers on them, because that way you don't have to fill up everything yourself. You can just use one big piece. As you can see, the palm trees are now just in front, but in the end they'll turn out to be everywhere, so the whole house will be surrounded by them, or at the sides at least. Here I use those again. What I also do is I first place the plants and then I color in the floor underneath the plants. And here I wanted to place lights on the driveway, but these were like too high. They might have looked good, but I don't know. So I just used these little spots. And then I switched them up so I could line in those two. Also, the lamps I used before were too business-like. I think when you make a modern house, you have to make sure that the house doesn't look like some kind of office. And then I wanted to place a fountain, something to fill up the space there. But this one looked a bit old-fashioned, and also I didn't know what to put in there, because if I just left it like this, it looked a bit stupid. So in the end I just used a modern fountain, which actually makes sense because it's a modern house and it's built up with all these blocks, so why not use a fountain that's literally made out of blocks. And then I looked at different colors, but I don't know, black was the best one because the whole house is dark and I didn't want a fountain that stood out too much, because honestly when you look at the picture of the house you don't immediately notice the fountain, I think. So that's quite alright. And then I had to decide where to put it, which I did 1,000 times again. And now it was time to fill up the balconies. I was really surprised that when you use this plant, it doesn't reach through the windows. So that was really handy. Although it's like a 4-space plant, it didn't reach through. So I could easily use it there. Then I tried to use this one, but that one was way too big. That's a problem. If you want to make it smaller, it'll just be unnoticeable, so then it doesn't make sense. I deleted those ones because I wanted to keep it less chaotic. I like that everything was white and green. I didn't want to add yellow to it. Yes, and then I added those fences. I use those a lot because they're very small and By the way, I also think that Sims are able to walk through them. I'm not sure, but I've seen one of my Sims one time just walk over them. So they're not really fences. I don't know, that information might be handy if you want to use fake fences. And here I tried to set sprinklers, but then I realized it looked a bit chaotic and I don't know. I wasn't able to place them symmetrically also, so yeah, I just deleted them. I also didn't want to put them in there like I'm doing now, because then you can't see the pretty spotlights anymore. By the way, it's also a bit useless to put them on a spotlight, because I think most of those sprinklers have their own spotlights. You can literally change their color, and once they're sprinkling, you see lights coming out of them, because those are the lights changing the color of the water. Yeah, then I put those plants there to make it all look a bit fuller. And then, to make it look even more full, I added little rows of bushes, because it annoyed me that the other bushes weren't visible from the outside. Then I had to decide whether to use the one with the white flowers or whether to use one without flowers. Not this one, but like this one. Then I stared at them and then I was like, the white flowers make most sense because there are white flowers in the front and everywhere, so why would I delete them there? And also, that's quite an old row of bushes. It looks a bit... The one without the flowers looks a bit like hidden object stuff, like live edit object stuff. When you want to use objects that are in the game in the background, then you type bb.show live edit objects. But then sometimes you get really weird looking stuff because it's actually just things from the background. That bush reminded me of those things, like the shadows and all, and shadows and dimensions are off. Okay, so now I'll fill up everything with those hedges, sorry. And then if you put them to the left, they will reach through the wall, but if you put them like this, they won't reach through. Then I think I resumed building the front part, so I think this is the part where I'll color the floor. Yes, I also wanted to close this one because actually it looked a bit way too open, so I closed it off, and then I realized that that plant had disappeared. Then what I always do is I make a brown area underneath, because that's where the plants are. Otherwise it just looks the same as the clean grass next to it. And then I made everything brown. which made me realize that on the ground floor I had deleted the entire floor, so I had to do the same as I did on the top floor, just use green grass tiles to make sure that my spraying paints with brown dirt didn't reach there. And then you can fill up a bigger area at once. What you can also do is just make everything brown and then erase the edges on the outside of the build. But erasing on the outside is harder because what I did now is just I put the brown underneath the tiles actually as well, so that's way easier. Then you don't have to watch the edges all the time. Okay, then I had to decide what to do with the remaining part there, but I think adding another window looked a bit chaotic, so I tested out some ivy. This is the one I'll eventually use, but first I'll test out something more. I thought that this one was also an option because that fitted with the flowers on the ground, but I thought it was too big. It looked a bit weird, so I looked at some other things, and then hi Nariuka, welcome. And then I decided maybe I first asked myself maybe I have to make it this whole build really filled with plants, but then I was like, no, that's too weird, that doesn't fit. So I tested out some things, and then eventually the first one I showed was actually the best one. But sometimes you have to test out weird things to make sure you don't forget any ideas. This was also an option, but it was a bit short, so I just chose this one. And then the darker version, because all the plants are in the darker version. And then in the back I also put that one. And then what I said, these fitting ivy with the flowers just like in the front, I put them here because there's nothing there, and I didn't want to put another window there because it was filled with windows already. Thank you, Nariuka. Enjoy your meal. So I put the special ivy on the side. Yes, what I always do is putting a bin outside because it needs to be functional for gameplay. Then I wanted to make a little garden space, but I was thinking I still need space for my Sims to rest next to the pool, so I just removed half of it, and then I made this little space, but the white color was a bit too boring, so I made it blue. And as I said, then I used a lot of blue elements in the back because the fences are already blue, the pool is already blue. But yeah, here I was searching for the what they call an umbrella, but it's actually a parasol. Yes, so I had blue and I had brown. So by the way, I say that because I was searching parasol and it didn't show up, but that is actually a parasol because sol means sun. So then I still had to finish my palm tree setting. Then I realized the brown dirt wasn't everywhere yet, so I added some more. Now that I look at it, I realized I could also have, I don't know, get some plants that are like hanging over the fence and going into the pool, but that would have been a bit weird because the fence is quite big. Here I had to find some more plants to fill this part up. And I also had to continue my row of bushes. Yes, then I just removed that one to make it a whole row, because before I didn't know I was going to make an entire row. I think it looks good because, I mean, let's be honest, this looks like quite a luxurious house, a house where rich people live, so it makes sense that the fence goes all around and the palm trees goes all around, because they're like secluded in their garden with their pool. And then apart from the bin, I also remind myself to put a letterbox, whatever. What is it called? A letterbox? A mailbox? Oh, whoa, a mailbox? I'm sorry. A mailbox. Because that's also what I always forget. And the hard thing about that is that when you forget your mailbox and you press gameplay mode and you go to your house, the mailbox just randomly spawns somewhere, sometimes even in your house, so that's very weird. Okay, so as you can see, I've literally filled up everything. I even made the edges darker. I still have to do the terrace, but first I think I first decided to divide up the house in different rooms. Yeah, so that small room, in my head that's like a little study library kind of thing, and then this part is the kitchen. And then what's left, this very big space, is where the stairs are, and then I'll place a wall because behind it there's space for a living room. I could also just not have placed this wall and have a big living room with the stairs kind of in it, but I don't know, I wanted to make clear that that was like a separate space, and it's already quite big, so maybe it's better this way. You can do a lot with it. Maybe when I decorate it for my gameplay version, I may remove that wall downstairs. Now you can see I call this 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, but you can also make this 2 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms, or 1 hobby room, fitness room, whatever, and then 1 bathroom and 1 bedroom and another bedroom or something else, game room, whatever. So you can choose what you do with that, which is also nice about an empty house, I think. So you can also choose which room has which function. I think if I make a fully decorated house without an empty version, I do it because I think this is just the way it should be and this looks very cool. But if I make an empty house, it's just because I think this could be like a real life house that everyone can decorate the way they want, and that looks nice and clean when it's empty. And if I make a version that's decorated, then maybe everyone will just think that's the way it should be. Because if you download a house and you want to decorate it yourself and you have to start deleting every item in there, first of all, that's very hard, and second of all, you'll still be influenced by all the decorations you saw. Maybe you won't be able to invent like a new interior or new style or something. But I do think this house has a lot of potential for becoming a cool decorated house, since it's like modern Sulani-ish, but not really in Sulani. It's like something in between. Oh yes, then I had to decide which floors I used. Floors, I often just use the first one I used. You saw the white wooden floor, or white brownish wooden floor. Then I was like, no, that one was way too, how do you say, way too wooden-ish, or maybe a bit boring. Then I was like, shouldn't I use tiles? But then the tiles were also too boring and they looked as if you were constantly outside. Then in the end I found something that was like in between. There was a bit like tiles, but also more of an inside the house look. At first I made all the walls just white. That's what I mostly do when I make an empty house. Just white walls. So yeah, now I realized that the floor was like way too weird and way too outside looking. So I wanted another one. Then I found this one, but white was a bit too boring. So I decided to make it brownish, light brownish. And yeah, I think it looks quite alright. It looks a bit like a very new modern house that still needs to be decorated for the first time, you know. Yeah, then I placed the lighting. That's also what I do when I make an empty house. Also because then you can change the lighting and the walls and the floor, but that's just to give it a better look and to make sure everything is looking good and also visible, because if you use the floor and wallpaper, you need lighting to show the right colors. So okay, that was it for the inside. Then I still needed to make the terrace. By the way, the little small room I added downstairs is for a toilet, if you weren't sure. You can also use it if you have the laundry bag. You can use it to put washing machine or drying machine. You can place them on top of each other in that little corner, but maybe that's a little small room to do that. I don't know how much space the Sims need for that. Yeah, now I want the terrace to have blue chairs so they match the blue chairs at the pool. But yeah, these ones, I don't know, they looked a bit too they didn't look fancy enough, so I made these ones. And then I realized that when I changed the color of these ones to black, that the edges of the chairs still remain blue, as you can see. So they still fit together with the whole idea of using blue, and with the fence and the pool. So I think you can see it. The edges, they're like see-through, but the edges are blue. And it looked quite modern. Okay, so then I saved the house. And you can download it in the gallery. I think it's called Anti-Modern House No CC, I think. And here you have a look at the downstairs, upstairs, and the outside. This is the whole building when it's finished. Yeah, it went quite fast building it. It wasn't too complex, but also not too easy, not too boring, but also not too complex. You can also put like a normal, not necessarily a very rich family, but a normal family in there. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it and see you next time.